And this next mini experience, they kind of tie into each other in a way. There's a bit of a connection here that I see just in the settings. So I'll start with this one where I was sort of just an objective viewpoint. I was just sort of like, you might say, in the sky type of that thing, like a bird's eye view. And I was looking down at, or looking over, you might say, a garden. There was the green grass, and of course that relates to the earth. Generally, that kind of that colored green, and of course the grass is like the earth. And I was kind of looking over this, and it was a Japanese garden. I knew that much was clear. I was aware of the style of it, and actually we were in Japan. That was the whole idea as well. And I could see again the green grass and the cherry blossoms, and kind of how they have that very traditional type of architecture. And I could see a couple people. Well, all of a sudden, in the middle of this garden, it was almost like a meteor hit the earth. It was some kind of blue glowing something, but out of it came this little being. He didn't look like any kind of identifiable species or anything like that, but he was small. He was like a child. Yeah, he was just very small, like a child. And I remember I approached him, and when I approached him, it looked like it got very angry. Almost like as a defense measure. It didn't know whether it was being attacked or going to be helped, because it was so sort of like primal in its state. Again, it was kind of like young, you might say. And again, when it got angry, it started to shoot these black tendrils out of its eyes and out of its kind of like ears, things that it had, and out of its fingers. Almost looked like they were tap lines, and it kind of tried to shoot them out to make itself look really scary. But I remember I put my hand on its head, and when I put my hand on its head, it calmed down all of a sudden. And again, it had, I wanted to also mention, it had this light blue aura around it all the time, much like the little rock that it came from or whatever, had this very light blue kind of aura. And when I had set my hand on top of it, I knew that I needed to make contact first with this being, because it was a very destructive being, but it did not know really what even it was. It was just as confused as anybody else, you might say. Because again, if the dark forces, and I could see this, that if the dark forces got a hold of this being, it's going to get bigger. It's going to grow regardless of who it's with, but the way that they're going to raise it is going to be as a destructive force because of what it's capable of. And I could see it was almost the size of like the Empire State Building, and it was getting really big, and it was just going to, tear cities apart, basically. But because I had made it there first, and I was the first sort of point of contact, or maybe like the first sort of influence that it had, as a kind of a real support, though, a real influence, it was going to be okay. It was going to, slowly, little by little, become more focused and kind of figure itself out and what it could be doing, rather than being raised to be very destructive. So that was a little interesting experience as well.
Okay, that's cool. That's something to write about, isn't it, and share. You have a new little friend, well, a new big friend now, Jeremy. Yes. And so you're like daddy.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, you're like daddy. It's just like when the chicken hatches from the egg, and whoever sees first, and that's mom, daddy. So that's cool. That's cool. You'll see. So how big did he eventually get? As big as the Empire State Building?
Yeah, well, yeah, he was as big as the Empire State Building, and yeah, I was seeing sort of like an alternate timeline that the dark forces got a hold of him, and that poor thing was just so confused. But yeah, I was like the size of the Empire State Building.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So it's confusing for all of us as we come here and we see and look at how long it takes to figure things and sort things out. So, again, we don't want to take anything for granted as we meet whoever. And even those that, these are risk takers, these reptilians and all that, they are risk takers. Okay, they don't care where they've lived or where they've gone. They just go. They go into outer space. They go to other planets, whatever. They don't care about family and friends and stuff like that. The Earth is different. You know, people build their nests and then they're afraid to do anything. But these individuals, they've gone through a lot and they're risk takers. And a lot of us in the past, if not all of us, have been through magic and all kinds of wars and stuff like that. Basically, all of us been killed others, etc. And this prepares us to be the risk taker, to be able to take the next step. But it's each one of us individually that decides when we will do that, and not always is there the opportunity, hardly at all, because this world does not want it. Okay, does not want it. So just like what Paul presented, and it was just a real watered down version of what we're doing here. And that was taken over very, very easily because it was more along the lines of business. And so the Eckankar model, etc. And it was set up like a business because this is what people knew. They knew religion, they knew spiritual stuff, they knew business. So Paul created it so. But because of what's happening in the world and things are so radical and this physical realm and all, no, we don't have time to fool around anymore. It's time to just get to it, you know, decide, do or die. So again, it's risking your life. But, you know, it's so cool what you're sharing here gives people the hints, but people have their personal self, and I've seen it so many times. They just scoff it off as nothing. It's like, oh, okay, he had this experience. Oh, it's probably a dream or his imagination or whatever. Well, what they don't see is that they're locked into their personal self, thinking that whatever their life is at this moment, that it's all going to be okay. And personally in the physical, no, it's not. It's not going to be okay. And especially as you get older, you're going to have an old body that's diseased and decrepit, and you don't even know if there's going to be someone that's going to help you, and the world's going to be worse for sure. It only gets worse every day. So you know, again, the personal self doesn't want to see that either. It just wants to keep thinking that, oh, everything's okay. I have hope. And, you know, their friends and family say, just hang on. We have hope. You know, God will save us, religion, something, the government will change. We have new people. It's all nonsense. You got to do it yourself. That's it, 100%. So this is so cool, Jeremy. You're stepping up, you're doing it, you're facing it, you're letting others know, etc. Yeah, thank you so much. And if you would, if you and others go on Instagram and whatever, please contact these people. You know how to better maneuver it, etc. So yeah, let's see who shows up. So a lot of people are interested, but let's see who steps up and will really do something. That's the big part. That's the toughie. That's the real challenge right there. And very, very few will do it. That's why there's very few here.